Let me thank every Cross Riverian who stood firm on the path of justice, on the path of honor, on the path of patriotism, to hold strong and provided a shoulder to hold Cross River State. Let me start by condoling with every Cross Riverian, every indigene, every resident of Cross River who in the course of the most recent mayhem have suffered any form of loss in one way or the other. My apologies, my condolences, my heart goes with you. May 2020 never come. May 2020 never come. May 2020 never come in the history of Cross River State, in the history of Nigeria, in the history of Africa, in the history of the world. Never has a continent, never has the world faced so much crisis. From extreme poverty, extreme unemployment, extreme hunger, extreme pandemic, and now global unrest and riots. May I recall that at the height of COVID-19 pandemic, Cross River State was celebrated as a state that led from the front, that provided a direction for Africa. May I recall also that even my postulations were put to question and askance, but ultimately my professional competence prevailed. Please, may you recall that once the signals became clear that certain parts of the South was already in fire, I started an active engagement with the youth force, identified fully with the NSAS protest, started proactive actions as elucidated by the speaker. Nobody will remember that when every place was ablaze, Cross River State had come. Please recall that our own brothers and sisters of Cross River extraction started raising questions even on social media. Why should Cross River be at peace? Our own people invited anarchy to the state because instead of celebrating the fact that government was able to contain the issue and be able to meet with the young people, address their concerns, provided succor, immediate suspension of tuition, increase in the number of youth to be employed, extension of NYSC to ensure that unemployment is reduced, for which for the young men were gradually getting satisfied. But there was growing social pressure to see that Cross River too forms part of the action. And when it came, because of my humanitarian position, that no property on earth is worth the value of life, we had incidents that has never been part of our history. We cannot allow the incident of the last few weeks deter us. For me, it has become a tonic, and that I will prove that indeed Cross Riverians have the resilience to overcome the challenges that we have faced. And so in order to construct a budget that reflects on all the happenstance, we have decided to shift focus from infrastructure, from big giant thoughts, and refocus on the people. So it is the people's budget. A budget that for the first time we are shifting from infrastructure, from major projects, from superhighway, from deep seaport, from all the big dreams and big projects that can actually create opportunity, to focus on the very essence of existence, hunger and poverty. The budget shifts to all issues of unemployment, the issues of security, consistent with the provisions of Section 14, subsection 2 of our Constitution. So on security, we've proposed a massive establishment of Neighborhood Security Watch, which will deal with the issue of neighborhood protection. In the last experience, it was clear to us that as a state, we have just realized that we have a lot of mixture in this state. And if you look at the records of those who are under arrest, if you look at records of those that the door-to-door search had a lot of looted items, if you watch the videos available to security operatives on those who did most of the looting, you will know clearly that we, Cross River, were asleep while strangers plundered our state. We must take collective responsibility for the failure. Anybody who dares, through political instrumentation, to put it on one person would have gone wrong. We all must take that and accept that. But in order that it doesn't happen, neighborhood security services will be introduced, which will create a lot of jobs for non-graduates and graduates alike. The border security patrol, the homeland security services, all of this will be activated to create mass jobs. The extension of NYSC is adequately provided in the budget to ensure that our young graduates don't have a sense of despair upon leaving service. We have made more adequate and extensive provisions for our relationship with the security operatives in the state. The Nigerian Police, the Nigerian Army, the Navy, Civil Defense, Immigration, Customs, and all other security agencies, including the Air Force. We have developed a new normative framework and a structural program that guarantees a fixed amount available on a monthly basis, as a minimum to guarantee peace and to guarantee security. We have decided to reactivate the Elders Forum, the Youth Council, and to see how we can finance and sponsor school programs. We introduce scholarships, introduce bursaries, and introduce all those things that can accept and can reach these young people who can see that truly this is their government. But let's not lose sight of the fact that that makes us a consumptive government. That means the prosperity agenda, the excited dream of creating a new Cross River is being put on hold to focus on stomach. The same Ayade in no distant time will be criticized. Why did you not finish this? Why did you not finish this? In normal governance, somebody starts a dream, takes it to a certain level, somebody takes over, move it to a different level. Today, the Lekki Deep Sea Port is under construction, but the dream started more than 16 years ago. We also made adequate provision, particularly for agriculture, to ensure that young people who study agriculture and all professionals move into the agricultural sector by providing for procurement of equipment, clearing of land, and supporting our people with agricultural inputs. We have decided to focus on very critical issues that appear to the eyes of our citizens as elements of good governance. Potholes corrections, planting of grass and trees, beautification of the city. My philosophy is that after war, what you need to address is hunger. What you need to address is the people. When the people are happy, then you can focus on your big dreams. Senator Limoke came in and introduced taking government to the people that need government most by doing all the rural roads. When I came in, I needed to think differently. Having had people who have created the basis to bring Cross River to the limelight by Donald Duke and Liel Imoke taking government to the people who needed it most, it was time for us to now industrialize. So judge me by my industrial philosophy. The budget of 2021 will not go down well in history if we close our eyes completely to the big dreams of having the garment factory for export. It will be wrong for the pharmaceutical factory to atrophy. It will be wrong for the feed mill, for the instant noodle factory, for Kalachika, for the rice seedling factory, for the fertilizer plant. All of this to lie prostrate on account of lack of funds. The factories have been completed. Today we are waiting for off-takers. For the first time, because of the sensitivity of the times, I have asked that the referendum should be conducted across the entire citizens of Cross River State. What do we do with these factories? The factories are ready, but you need an operator. You need a concessionaire. Please do take a walk with me to these factories. They are ready. The cocoa processing factory in Ikom has been ready for almost 2 years now. But you need a minimum of 150 million naira to buy the initial cocoa stock to do the wet test run after the dry run has been done. That can only be done by the investor. But you need to have an investor who is ready to put funds down. We can only achieve that through the provisions of our law, the privatization law, which I met. The council has been constituted. But today, if we dare do that, government will be accused of selling it to itself. And that's why we have decided, as part of our policy, to first make it available to Cross Riverians. Indicate your interest and choice for the factory you want to run. Seek your technical partner, come take it and run. I speak to you in extempore because I'm emotionally involved in my government at every single piece and every single way of the road. We have decided to focus so much on agriculture and so much on youth development, on employment and social housing and new cities development. Because in new city development and social housing, it creates opportunity for lawyers to do agreements, it creates opportunity for carpenters, for welders, for masons, for bricklayers, it creates opportunity for town planners, for geographers, for design team, architects and the like, draftsmen. Mass construction of houses gives you a great opportunity to mop up a lot of people to the hands. The Cross River State has also set up the Construction and Fabrication Academy. That academy is to give strong Cross Riverian skills, so that you can have skills that you can then, if your certificate cannot give you work, your hand can give you a job. We introduced this massive program of food on the table, hands on a plow. Therefore, the budget provision for this year is in a sum of 277,708 million naira. Of that figure, a sum of 192 billion represents the recurrent expenditure, which represents 69% of the budget. Inside this 69% of the budget, 70% of it is warehouse for youth empowerment, youth development, job creation, massive opportunity to lift people from poverty, humanitarian services, conditional cash transfer, assistance, medical support services, everything that has to do with the values of mankind, putting food on the table, expanding government, just ensuring that citizens are happy, the youths have hope, and that there's opportunity to go to school, scholarships, all of that constitute 69% of the budget. While 31% of that budget is now reduced and left for basic expenditure. 85,196,800,000 naira set aside to deal with the core issues that have to deal with infrastructure, because we cannot close our eyes to the Ministry of Works, we cannot close our eyes to water resources to ensure water is supplied, we cannot close our eyes to our foreign relationships, we cannot close our eyes to the various ministries, the climate change which is a reality. Our information must be improved, our social media as government must be strengthened, we must refocus our agenda and our hope. Therefore, this budget is a mixture. It's a mixture of blush and a mixture of bliss. And therefore, the budget is a budget of blush and bliss. Blush because it's a stain of shame from where we're coming from. Blush because we're going through a situation where our face is red, in pain and in agony. It is blush because we are coming away from our big dreams of our kinetic crystallization, from our Olympic agenda, just to reflect on the mood of the time. But it's a source of bliss because our unemployed young people will now have opportunity to smile and be happy that government have shifted from the big dreams to the primary option of feeding the people. Thank you and God bless.